everybody, and welcome back to Credit Union Cowboy. Today, I've got an extra special guest with me. I've known Fred for, 18 years now, and Fred is the president of the Tennessee Credit Union League, soon to be, I think, another name here, which you've made an announcement coming soon.
Yes.
We're not sure of the name, so I'll let you, that'll be your thunder. I'm not going to steal that, but Fred is here today to talk to us about something that, if it's not near and dear to all of our hearts, it should be. And it's a very important subject, and it's financial literacy. So, Fred, we talked a little bit about this. Expand upon what the Credit Union League is doing and how it's helping facilitate financial education literacy among not just our credit unions and members, but we're working with the entire state here. You're working with the entire state. So expand upon that a little bit for me.
Well, Ron, thanks for having me on. This is going to be very exciting for us. But one of the things that I've been in the credit union movement for 42 years, and I have been on countless financial literacy, financial education programs, some that are driven by the state, some that are driven by credit unions, and they really never get traction. It's sort of, it always reminded me of a firework. It goes up and everybody's there for the first meeting and everything's great. And we have all of these plans. But then as it gets down to everybody starting to drive the nails, it kind of goes away. And there's always been this need for, some sort of government intervention to get involved. Let's make this part of the education process when kids are growing up. I've been in programs where we were trying to get to college age students. And when by the time they're in college, you kind of miss that opportunity. These traits or habits are learned at home when they're very young. So back in, I believe it was 2010, the legislature passed the Financial Literacy Act that was going to require high schools have an education piece. That was fine for those people in high school, but what about the ones below that, the K through 8, where it really starts? And that's when this became more apparent to us. Our neighbors up in Kentucky did something like this with their credit unions, was able to fund their financial literacy program. And I thought, why create something new? Let's just steal their idea and go about it that way. So that's what we're trying to do. And we've been working really close with the director, Bill Parker, to try to see if we can put together a program that we can bring into credit unions.
Why is it so important to credit unions for something like this? And I like your analogy of the fireworks, because I've seen this so many times too, where everybody is there. Day one, everybody's there. Day two, we lost 10. Day three, we lost 30. Day four, we've got nobody left. And it was a great idea, but it didn't happen. So what's the league doing to, one, facilitate this, that we do have the involvement of credit unions? It's not a fireworks, it's something that's long lasting. And two, why should credit unions realize how important this is?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, the high school part is a mandated program. So, we present this to our roundtable credit unions. One of the things they all came up with was, we do a lot of this already, but it's kind of scattered. Credit unions are great community citizens. They do so much for their communities. However, they don't really publicize it outside of the membership or their local community. You don't get the credit for what you're doing. And I think something like this was going to give us more of a statewide platform when you're dealing with lawmakers. When they go in and they're talking about going back to their constituents and they're talking to their citizenry about education, regular education plus financial education, and knowing that credit unions is a part of that, that's going to be very important, because we are for the members. That's how we do this, but it's got to be organized around one singular program or product. You can't have 20 different products running out there. I've been with the youth and the reality fairs, and those are eye openers for anybody that's never participated in one of those. You need to do one of those. Mm-hmm. But a lot of those are done a little bit different. Now, this curriculum and program that we're building has a common core to it. However, it doesn't limit you as credit unions, because I'm sure you have relationships with school systems here. Those relationships will stay in place, and you can deliver the same kind of training that you're doing now. That this will help enhance it. But it's a common language, a common program that's going to be for everybody in the state.
I like the fact that if we've got a relationship, it's going to continue with the school if we have one. But also something you said about the legislature too,
Mhm.
that we go to the legislature now and it's kind of haphazard
Mhm.
as far as, well, what do you do for the community? Here's what I'm doing here. But you can go 2 counties over and get something different. So this will kind of tie everybody together under one program, which I think is the best way of doing it at all. So we all have one voice, one mission, one statement, one going to the legislature going, this is what we're doing.
Mhm.
I know you and I have had talks, and others have had talks about what Kentucky did, and I think it's a great curriculum. And I'm glad to see the league doing this now. In thinking about this, though, how if we don't have a relationship with a school, and I
Mhm.
know, like you said, it's mandated through high schools that high schools have to do this now, and but if we don't have a relationship, how is this going to assist all credit unions in working with different school districts to develop that relationship, to allow us to help come in and add something to their curriculum? Because like I said, at a young age they learn how to start saving from parents, from what have you, in K through 6, K
Mhm.
through 5 is where this is instilled.
Mhm.
If they see people spending money, not saving it, as they grow older, they're spending their money.
Mhm.
As they see people saving it, yeah, they want to save. We've got student accounts. Come on in, we'll open up your student savings, we'll open up student checking as you're older and things like that. But this program, how is it going to help us as credit unions work hand in hand with the schools?
That's a great question, because that question came up at our roundtable meeting because there were credit unions that were telling us that they wanted to help some systems, but they couldn't get into them. It was like they was kind of stopped either at the administration level of the school, saying that we just don't have time. We want to put you on put this program in our curriculum. How do we crack that egg? Well, the state, when you put get the state involved, you carry a little bit more weight than the credit union going in there, because you can't help as an administrator probably think you're coming in there and you're going to promote your credit union. But what you're doing when you come in as with the state is you are promoting the financial literacy piece. You are trying to promote and grow better citizens, better students. It is and when you talked about the legislature, the thing we have to look at, again, Tennessee credit unions are great community citizens, but we don't get the kind of credit we need for the things that we do, because it's done every day. You do it every day here. You do it every day all across the state. You think about the heart walks. Like here, you guys do the golf tournament for credit unions for kids. Fantastic program. You put a lot of work in that, and it goes up, then it goes down. You got ready for the next one. So what you need is that when the lawmakers, when they're up there and they're talking about budget items, and they look to Bill Parker, and he says our credit unions funded the financial literacy program this year and for the next 2 years. Every one of those lawmakers is going to remember that, and that is political gold. When it comes to the next time we have to go up and talk to the legislature, you're not starting at ground zero. I mean, we have people that's up there every day, but it is what are you doing for the community that helps the state? And this is something that's really going to help the state. There's been studies that show that people that are more financially sound are healthier people. I believe the Filene Research
Mhm.
did a study a few years ago that showed that, and it is. I've been growing up. I mean, my dad was a steel worker, and my mom worked retail, and you could, when Dad would go on strike, our life changed. So you have to think about how that puts the pressure downstream on the children. The children see that they have the stress that puts on them. Not to say what it does to the parents. So you got to look at it as as I guess of a holistic approach. You fix one piece, it's going to fix other pieces of those folks' lives, of the citizens that we're trying to reach.
Excellent points, and I think You talk about your dad being a steel worker. Both my parents were teachers.
Mhm.
Uh, K through 8, they ended their careers as high school teachers. My dad actually taught consumer math.
Mhm.
And so this kind of has been near and dear to my heart all my life. As a sixth grader, I was in his consumer math class learning, things like this. Just, hey, bring your kid to school day. And I got drugged to school to learn. So I was doing geometry as a fifth grader, things like this. But, to look at what he taught and see as I got older, it become absent. And for, kids coming out of school not knowing anything about financial literacy, not knowing the value of a dollar, I think what you're doing is so important. And working with the legislature to have this done, I couldn't agree more that this creates a huge amount of credibility and weight in going into different school districts,
Mhm.
things like that. Because I know us, we have success in some school districts, we have roadblocks in other school districts. And it comes back to, hey, we're promoting Enbright. It's like, no, we're not promoting Enbright. We're trying to be a partner and work with you to educate the student so they have a sound foundation of where to start financially. And we don't end up with bankruptcies as adults and things like that. This hopefully will prevent that, or at least add some solid foundation to stop things like that. So
Mhm.
this is gold what you guys are doing. So, and I think it's been needed for a while. You said we're stealing from Kentucky. Plagiarism is the best form.
That's right.
So we'll take it. Well, nothing wrong with that. We'll take that. We like that. So, um, rounding this out, what else is the league doing with this? I mean, how much of the legislature backing do we have? How much of, I know at Leg Reg we had talked some about this in the past, Leg Reg.
Mhm.
What's kind of a timeline we're looking at getting this up and running, getting credit unions on board, getting districts on board? What can you tell us about that?
Well, really, what we're waiting for, it's just like everything around funding. We've got to get our funding set in place, and we worked. Debbie Painter on our staff worked with Bill Parker to come up with a budget, and we have different levels of where we're at as far as if we raise X number of dollars, this is what happens. And one of the pieces that I think is that they came up with, which is really a motivator, is they're going to incentivize instructors, teachers to when they are certified, they are going to get an incentive to continue this program and come back in the next year and teach this program. Because, I mean, quite frankly, I mean, no one does anything for free, and I don't blame them. I mean, it would be hard to give up your time to put more work. I know we do a lot of it here in credit unions because we are, a lot of us volunteer based, but that is something that I think is going to change when you start getting these teachers looking forward to taking part in this because they know there is a financial incentive. I think that's going to be a big part. But before we get to that, we have to have the credit unions help us fund this. And we have an overall state goal of around $600,000. And that should completely fund everything that the Bill Parker wants to do, and Debbie Painter in our office has the agenda and kind of can lay out everything that they're looking to do. I've set high goals, and I think that goal that's the one I see. I think we can hit $600,000 to do that. And as far as the legislature, this doesn't require legislative approval. It's just we fund it, we do it. And quite frankly, we need to do this before somebody else does. And I think it is I think it's part of our mission. I think that's what we do. We try to make people's lives better, and we have to start out when they're young, because if we don't, a lot of those bad habits replicate, and you'll have a parking lot full of repos, people that don't care. I mean, I'll share a story with you. I was on a phone call probably about 6 months ago with a lady, and she voluntarily repoed her car. She turned it in, and she could not understand why that was going to have a bad reflection on her credit. And I had to go through the process and tell her, I said, you still owe for that car, But she's like, well, no, I don't have the car anymore. Those are things that everybody, we all understand that, but not a lot of people understand that. They need to know how every little glitch along the way impacts their credit and their financial future. And you have to start when they're young. Because let me tell you, what's the old saying? It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah, look at us.
Yeah, look at us. Yeah. So, but that is, I think that's what we have to do. And I think this one has the legs and the meat to carry us to the finish line for you.
Now, your story there, I can't tell you how many times our loan servicing manager has come to me with that story going, hey, here are the keys, I'm done. It's like, no, you're not done. We'll sell it, and there's going to be money left that you owed, and you owe it.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
No.
It goes back to the old, you ask somebody to write a check. They have no clue how to write a check anymore.
No.
And there's some places that still, I've got my horseshoer or farrier. He only takes checks. He doesn't take Venmo, PayPal, or anything else. Write me a check.
Mm-hmm.
And so even for me, I got to think about, okay, I'm going to write a check out. So I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit on this. The league and credit unions. How do we do this? How do we fund it? What's your ask? I don't know if you're prepared to talk about this yet, because like I said, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I'm near and dear to this subject,
mm-hmm.
As I am, as you know, many subjects. But coming from a family of teachers, credit union, finance, everything like this, I think this needs to be done, like you said, before somebody else starts it, before somebody else doesn't have our vision with it. And that being said, how do we start this? Because it's going to take all of us to do it.
Well, what we're going to do, we're going to reach out. We've looked at several ways of doing this. You look at the fair share model, and when you look at that, it's one of those things where it's great, but if somebody doesn't hit their fair share, then there's a gap. And how do you fill that gap? So what we're going to look at it is giving levels in tiers, and we're going to look at it and we'll base it on asset sizes, and then we'll say these are the tiers you could participate in. Or we can say, we can go silver, gold, platinum. These are the levels. You don't, if you're one of the largest credit unions in the state, but you want to give to a silver level, you're a silver level. But you can fill it in by you'll be recognized by the amount you give. And we feel like that gives us the best opportunity because, like you said, this is very passionate to you. And if you're at your size, you would have to give 10,000, for example. But you feel like you're going to give up in the upper tier, you would still be a platinum. You'd be viewed as a platinum. But it will be coming from the credit unions of Tennessee. It's not coming from the league, and it's not coming from any one credit union. It is going to be the credit unions of Tennessee that will fund this.
So when do we start?
We are going to start immediately. We would like to get, the legislature goes back in session the second Tuesday of January.
Mm-hmm.
They need their budgets, just like us, they're going to have their budgets in here within the next couple of months. So we are going to want to get to work on this immediately and looking for credit unions to pledge and to commit to this. Now, here's the trick, Ron. There's always a trick. But, we want you to commit to 3 years of this because there's nothing worse than starting a program. Again, the fireworks.
I was just going to say, we're coming right back to the fireworks.
It goes up and then it goes down. The next year, we're off to something else. We can't. We've got to make sure that we fund this and it makes a difference. And I think the difference, if we have 3 years, I think we can make a difference. And I think we will see it in how we're perceived out there amongst our lawmakers.
Oh, that's great. So y'all heard this. Everybody who's credit union who's heard this, league's getting this out. Starting immediately. So watch your emails, watch text messages, watch social media, whatever. I'll be watching for it, Fred.
You'll
be watching, see.
You will get it.
So, yep, I'm looking forward to this. So anything in closing, anything else you want to add to this? Because, like I said, a great program. I'm very proud to be part of the league and watching the league do what they're doing. So,
well, I want to thank you again for giving us the opportunity to do this. When I first met Ron, I always told us I thought he was in a witness relocation program when he said he was from California and he was a cowboy. I said, "Oh, sure you are." but Ron has just been a great advocate for us out there, and have always thought the world of you and what you do. but it is one of those things of where, all boats rise, and I think, we get all credit unions on board. And I guess the last thing I could say is, we just need to keep trying to improve our members' lives out there.
Absolutely. I could not agree with that sentiment more. Yes, that's what we do, and we have to keep doing it. We have to strive to keep improving members' lives. We have so many programs that credit unions do that are dedicated to that, and this is just one more thing that's dedicated to us improving our members' lives.
Exactly.
It's for the good of everybody, not just credit unions, for the good of everybody. So, Fred, thank you so much for being here today. I truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate, value your friendship. I'm glad you didn't tell some of the other stories I've heard you tell about me, so we're good. Yeah. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. Yeah, I'm going to be in your book. Okay, as long as I get an autographed copy, I'm good to go with that. I'll be in your book. Last thing I do want to mention is you've got a event that is right up my alley coming up here in April. Can you give me a quick 30 seconds so that everybody, maybe if you haven't heard about it, you can hear about it right here?
Sure can. We are going to, again, part of our giving is we want to be able to support our charities out there. And a couple of charities that we support in Tennessee is Inheritance of Hope and Children's Miracle Network. And like I said, I like big goals. So, especially when I don't have to do them, I got other people that we get.
There you go. Exactly.
But one of the things we're going to put together is this unique event of the Grand Ole Opry. And we are going to try to raise about $500,000 for these organizations. Now that's total. And it is going to be just an absolutely great night. It's going to be black tie and boots. So we would like as many people to come out, be a sponsor, join us. We'll be getting more information out. But again, it is all for Inheritance of Hope and Children's Miracle Network.
And bow ties and boots, right?
Bow ties and boots.
All right. So you guys heard it here too. I know I've seen it on social media. I'll be there.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Exactly.
If you got boots, especially if I get a chance to wear my tux with my Wranglers and a pair of boots and a hat, hey, we're good to go.
Sounds great.
Well, Fred, again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for being here and your friendship. It's truly amazing. The league, what they do is amazing. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to hearing more about everything coming up. I know you got some other things in the hopper too, but we'll leave that to you, unless I won't steal any thunder from you. But everybody, thank you again for joining us. Fred here and the league, we appreciate the partnerships. Most of all, appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening. So thank you, and look forward to the next episode. Have a great one, everybody.